Welcome back to the deep dive. We are really glad to have you with us today.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We have a pretty interesting one today.
We do. And I'm going to be completely honest with you right out of the gate. Today's topic is, well, it's a word that I think is pretty much impossible to avoid, especially if you spend any time on social media
Oh, absolutely.
or even just, browsing the self-help section of a bookstore. We're talking about manifestation.
Right. The big M word.
Yeah, the big M word. And when I first saw the source stack for today, I kind of wanted to roll my eyes so hard they almost got stuck that way.
I don't blame you at all. It is a highly loaded word. Probably one of the most loaded words in the modern lexicon right now.
Yeah.
It triggers a very specific, visceral reaction in people who consider themselves rational or science-minded.
Loaded is definitely an understatement.
Mm.
It's got baggage. I mean, a metric ton of baggage.
Yeah.
Because when I hear the word manifestation, I don't think of science.
No, you think of magic?
Right. I think of vision boards. I think of that book, The Secret. I think of this idea that if I just sit on my couch and think really, really hard about a Ferrari, the universe is just going to drop one in my driveway.
Just magically appear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It feels magical, and honestly, not in a good way. It feels like a convenient excuse to avoid doing actual work.
And that is actually the perfect place to start.
Right.
Because that skepticism you have, that is your best friend for this deep dive.
Okay, good.
Because if we are looking for evidence in peer-reviewed psychology or medical journals for that specific idea.
The magical idea.
Right. The idea that a thought supernaturally causes an event in the real world. Like, I think of a car, and a car appears without me buying it or working for it. If we look for that evidence, it is zero.
Zero.
It absolutely does not exist. And we need to be crystal clear about that before we go any further.
Okay, so just to set the ground rules for you listening. We aren't doing magic today. We aren't checking star charts or aligning our crystals.
We are absolutely not doing magic. But, and this is the big but, and the whole reason we're here today, if you strip away the woo-woo and you look at the actual clinical literature, there is something there.
Okay.
We have a really massive, comprehensive review in front of us today. It's titled Manifestation Technique in Deep Relaxation, and it covers evidence, mechanisms, protocols, and evaluation.
Which, I have to say, sounds a lot more like a medical textbook and a lot less like a viral TikTok trend.
Exactly. It's pulling from meta-analyses on hypnosis, meditation, breathwork, and self-regulation research. And the mission of this deep dive is to look at what happens when you take the magic out of manifestation and replace it with biological mechanisms.
It's like the sound of that.
Because the core argument of this research is that while thoughts don't magically turn into things, there is highly robust evidence that deep relaxation, when you combine it with specific types of suggestion and imagination, can radically alter your stress levels.
Right.
It can alter your pain perception and, crucially, your behavior. And it is that change in behavior that actually gets you the result.
So it's an indirect path. We're talking about a chain reaction.
Yes.
It's not thought leads to event. It's more like thought leads to body state, which leads to action, which then leads to the event.
Precisely. It's a biological chain reaction, not a cosmic order form.
No.
It operates entirely through the nervous system and the brain's predictive coding mechanisms.
Okay.
And frankly, the science suggests that the way most people try to manifest by just visualizing their success and feeling really good about it might actually be completely sabotaging them.
Whoa. Wait. That is a huge claim.
It is.
You're saying that positive thinking might actually be the problem, that the whole good vibes only crowd might be shooting themselves in the foot.
In a very specific context, yes. The data on what researchers call positive fantasies is actually quite damning.
Really?
Yeah. It turns out that fantasizing about success can chemically mimic the feeling of actual success in the brain, which essentially shuts down your drive to go out and achieve it. But we will get into all that detail a bit later.
Okay, I'm hooked. Because if positive thinking is a trap, I definitely need to know why. But let's start with the basics first.
Sure.
If we are redefining manifestation for the purpose of this deep dive, what are we actually talking about? Like, what is the strict scientific definition we're using today?
So the source provides a formula that I think clears up the confusion almost immediately. It defines manifestation in deep relaxation as the sum of two specific, distinct components.
Okay, two components.
Component one is state regulation.
State regulation.
Yeah.
That sounds, it sounds like engineering.
It basically is engineering, but for your nervous system. It means actively lowering your physiological arousal, stabilizing your attention, and getting your body completely out of that fight or flight mode.
So calming the physical body down.
Right. That's the hardware. You have to prep the machine first. Then component 2 is suggestion and imagination.
The software.
Exactly. That's the software. That is where you work on changing your expectations and your readiness to act in the world.
I really like that analogy. Hardware and software.
Mm.
Because it makes so much sense. I mean, most people out there are trying to run this really high-end software. Like,
Yeah.
they're sitting there thinking, I want to be a millionaire, or I want six-pack abs, or I want to be super confident.
Yeah.
But they're trying to run those programs on hardware that is completely overheating and crashing because they're stressed out of their minds.
That is a perfect way to put it. You literally cannot run a complex new program on a system that is currently battling a virus or overheating. The brain just won't accept it.
So how does the research map this out? Because I know the source had a specific model for this.
It does. The source visualizes this with a flowchart that walks through the human experience of trying to make a change. It's really helpful. It starts with the starting point, which for most of us is just, well, stress.
Yeah, a lack of clarity or just a desperate desire for something we don't have yet. The I hate my job phase or the I feel lonely phase.
Exactly, that state of lack.
Yeah.
Now, usually people skip straight to the end. They go straight to, I want the thing. They visualize the wish.
Right, skipping to the finish line.
But the clinical model says, no. Action 1 must be deep relaxation.
This is that state regulation part we just talked about.
Right, and they mean specific protocols, breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, or meditation. And the result of this isn't just feeling chill.
It's not just taking a nap.
No, it's a highly specific neurological state called absorption. Your focus narrows and stabilizes. The constant noise of the outside world dampens down.
Okay, so the machine is cooled off.
Yes, and only then, only when you are in that state do you move to action 2, which is suggestion and imagination. Here, you visualize a target, but you assign specific meaning to it. And this raises what they call your expectancy.
Expectancy meaning I actually believe I can do the thing.
Yes. It's known as self-efficacy, the deep, ingrained belief that I am capable of taking the very next step.
And that leads to the next phase.
Yes, that leads to action 3, which is concrete plans. The source specifically emphasizes if-then strategies.
If then. So like, if this obstacle happens, then I will do X.
Exactly. You plan for the friction, and
Yeah.
when you do that, the outcome is actual behavior change in your daily life.
Which leads to measurable results. So it's a loop.
It's a complete feedback loop. You regulate the body to prime the mind. You prime the mind to plan the action. You take the action to get the result. And then you see the result, which reinforces your belief, which makes it easier to regulate and act the next time.
Okay, I want to double click on that first part, the engine. That state regulation, deep relaxation phase.
Let's do it.
Because I feel like when I tell my friends, oh, I'm relaxing tonight, I usually mean I'm drinking a glass of wine and scrolling through Instagram.
Right.
Or maybe binge watching 3 hours of a show on Netflix. But I have a feeling that is not what the clinical literature means by deep relaxation.
No, unfortunately, that is definitely not it. In fact, scrolling on your phone often keeps your nervous system in a state of low-level agitated arousal.
Really? Even if I'm on the couch?
Even on the couch, you're getting these rapid dopamine hits, you're reading bad news, your eyes are constantly darting around the screen. The deep relaxation described in our source is a bundle of highly measurable physiological changes.
So we're talking metrics.
Yes. We are talking about a significant drop in muscle tension, a shift in your blood pressure, and very distinct measurable changes in the autonomic nervous system.
Which brings us to the vagus nerve, right? 'Cause I feel like the vagus nerve is having a massive moment in pop science right now.
It really is.
Like everywhere I look online, someone is talking about vagal tone or telling me to ice my chest to reset my nervous system.
It is having a moment, but honestly for very good reason. The vagus nerve is essentially the biological superhighway between your brain and your major organs, your heart, your lungs, your gut.
It connects everything.
It does. It's called the wandering nerve because vagus means wandering in Latin. And it is the primary driver of your parasympathetic nervous system.
Which is the rest and digest mode, as opposed to fight or flight.
Exactly. Now, the source spends a lot of time on something called voluntary slow breathing as the single most direct way to hack this system.
Voluntary slow breathing.
Specifically, breathing at a rate of about 6 breaths per minute.
Okay, let's pause and do the math on that. 6 breaths per minute. That is a 10-second cycle for one breath.
Yes.
That is really slow
Yeah.
because most of us breathe, what, 12, 15 times a minute normally?
At least. When we're stressed or if we're talking fast or scrolling online, it can easily jump to 20 breaths a minute. The breathing gets very shallow and rapid. It stays high up in the chest.
So 6 breaths is a huge slowdown.
It is. The optimal rhythm they suggest is 4 seconds on the inhale and 6 seconds on the exhale.
Making the exhale longer than the inhale.
Always. And the meta-analyses in the source show that this specific rhythm induces something called vaguely mediated heart rate variability, or HRV for short.
Okay, help me out here. Because the word variability usually sounds like a bad thing. Like, I don't want my bank account to be variable. I definitely don't want my car engine's performance to be variable. I want those things to be steady and predictable. Why is HRV, or heart rate variability, a good thing?
That is a great question, and it is totally counterintuitive at first. But think of your heart like a high-performance sports car. Or maybe even better, think of it like a boxer in the boxing ring.
Okay, a boxer.
If you are a boxer in a fight, do you want to be standing perfectly still, stiff as a board, with your feet planted flat on the mat?
No, I'd get knocked out in 2 seconds. I want to be bouncing on my toes. I want to be moving.
Exactly. You want to be ready to move in any direction instantly. You want to be adaptable.
I see.
A high HRV means your heart is bouncing on its toes. It is responsive. It is constantly listening to the vagus nerve. So it slows down slightly between beats when you exhale, and it speeds up slightly when you inhale. It's literally dancing with your breath.
So it's flexible.
Highly flexible. Whereas a low HRV means your heart is stuck. It's just pounding away beat after beat like a metronome. There's no variation.
And that's bad.
That is associated with stress, inflammation, and physiological rigidity. It means your system is under a heavy load and it cannot adjust to changes in the environment.
Okay, I get it now. High HRV means I'm adaptable and resilient. Low HRV means I'm stressed, stiff, and stuck.
Exactly. And by doing this slow breathing, specifically by extending that exhale to 6 seconds, you are manually increasing that variability.
You're forcing the heart to bounce on its toes.
You are stimulating the vagus nerve to tell the heart to slow down. You are forcing the entire nervous system to become more flexible. And here is the real kicker for manifestation.
Yeah.
When your HRV is high, your brain enters a state where it is chemically and electrically more receptive to new information. You are physically creating a biological window for learning and neuroplasticity.
Oh, wow. This is the hardware connection.
Yes.
So if I try to do my daily affirmations or my visualization exercises, when my HRV is low, like when I'm super stressed or when I've just had a massive argument with my boss, my brain is basically a fortress. The drawbridge is pulled up.
The firewall is in complete lockdown. You're in survival mode. And in survival mode, the brain relies entirely on old, deeply ingrained habits because they are safe and they are fast.
It just wants to survive.
Right. It is not interested in manifesting a new career path or visualizing a peaceful future. It is only interested in surviving the next 5 minutes. You literally cannot reprogram the software when the operating system is actively defending itself against a perceived threat.
That makes so much sense.
Okay?
That is exactly why state regulation has to come first. You have to lower the drawbridge before you can send the new instructions in.
Exactly. State before content. Always.
Now, the source also mentions another method for this, which is progressive muscle relaxation, or PMR.
Yes.
And I actually remember doing this in a psychology class back in college. It's the tense and release thing, right? Where you squeeze your muscles.
That's the one. It was developed by a physician named Edmund Jacobson way back in the 1920s. And honestly, it sounds almost too simple to be considered a clinical intervention, doesn't it?
It really does. Just squeeze your fist and let go. It feels very basic.
It is basic, but a 2024 systematic review, cited right in our source, confirms that PMR is incredibly effective at reducing state anxiety, stress, and even depression.
But why does it work? I mean, logically, if I want to relax, why do I have to tense up first? Why can't I just tell my body to relax?
Because of a concept called proprioception and the body's biofeedback loop.
Okay, break that down for us.
Well, think about it. Most of us walk around all day with our shoulders practically up in our ears, our jaws clenched tight, and our breathing shallow. And the crazy part is we don't even notice we're doing it.
No, we really don't, until someone points it out or you get a headache.
Exactly. We've been tense for so long that tense simply feels normal. We have literally become numb to our own baseline of tension.
We've calibrated our sensors to a high-stress baseline.
Perfectly said. PMR forces you to exaggerate that tension. You squeeze a muscle group really, really hard for a few seconds. so that when you finally let go, your brain is forced to register the contrast.
Oh, I see.
You are actively teaching your nervous system, hey, this feeling here, this is tension, and this new feeling, this is relaxation. Spot the difference. You are manually recalibrating the sensory receptors in your muscles.
It's kind of like when you have a background noise in your house, like a refrigerator humming or an air conditioning unit running. You don't even hear it anymore because you're so used to it. But then the power goes out, the hum stops, and suddenly the silence is absolutely deafening.
That is a brilliant analogy, yes. PMR turns the noise all the way up so that you can actually appreciate the silence when it finally stops. And doing this reliably lowers state anxiety, which is the acute anxiety you feel in the current moment.
And again, if you want to visualize a new future,
Yeah.
you can't do it while your body is screaming that it's under attack from that background anxiety.
Precisely.
Okay, so what about meditation? Because that seems like the heavy hitter in this entire space. But when I read the source, it seemed, I don't know, a little tepid on it. Or maybe just cautious.
Nuanced is the word I'd probably use.
Nuanced, okay.
The source cites a very famous, massive review from JAMA Internal Medicine. And it found that standard meditation programs generally have small to moderate effects on negative stress dimensions, like anxiety and depression.
Small to moderate. I mean, that doesn't sound like the life-changing magic that people are selling on Instagram.
It's honest science, though. And to be fair, small to moderate in a strict clinical setting is actually quite significant.
Yeah.
It's comparable to the effect size of some antidepressants in certain contexts.
Oh, really? That puts it in perspective.
Yeah, but it means it's not a panacea. It's not a magic pill that fixes everything overnight. The expert in the source points out that the effects of meditation depend heavily on the context of how you use it.
What do you mean by context?
Well, are you treating meditation as a spiritual bypass to avoid your problems? Or are you treating it as a targeted skill to regulate your attention? It works best when you view it as a literal gym workout for your focus, not just some mystical escape hatch. It's about building the neurological muscle of attention so that you actually have the power to choose where to point your mind.
Okay, I am tracking with you. So we've fully established the engine now. We know the hardware. We are breathing slowly, 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. We've tensed and released our muscles. Our HRV is up, our heart is bouncing on its toes, and our drawbridge is finally down.
The machine is prepped.
The hardware is ready. We are in a verified state of deep relaxation. Now, we need to load the software.
Yes.
This brings us to the imagination and suggestion phase. And the source leads with a word that honestly usually makes me think of swinging pocket watches and people clucking like chickens on a stage. Hypnosis.
I knew we'd get here. We definitely have to address the chicken in the room.
Please do.
Yeah.
Because I need to know, is hypnosis actual real science or is it just stage magic?
It is absolutely, unequivocally valid clinical science. But we have to strictly separate stage hypnosis, which is mostly entertainment based on social compliance and peer pressure, from clinical hypnosis.
Okay, so clinical hypnosis is different.
Very different. The meta-analyses on clinical hypnosis are striking, particularly for pain management, which is clinically called hypnoanalgesia.
Hypnoanalgesia.
Right. We're talking about moderate to large, statistically significant reductions in real physical pain. It is also highly effective for reducing severe distress around medical procedures.
Like surgery.
Yeah. If you are absolutely terrified of an upcoming surgery, or even just going to the dentist, clinical hypnosis can measurably and reliably lower that terror.
But how does it actually work? Is it just distracting you? Like a magician saying, look over here so you don't notice the needle going into your arm.
No, it's much, much deeper than simple distraction. It works via a neurological mechanism called response expectancy.
Response expectancy.
This is a core concept for everything we are talking about today. Let me actually ask you to do something real quick.
Okay, I'm game.
Close your eyes for just a second.
Closed.
I want you to vividly imagine holding a fresh, bright yellow lemon in your hand. Feel the waxy skin. Now imagine taking a knife and slicing it right down the middle.
Okay.
A little bit of the juice sprays out into the air. You can smell the sharp citrus. Now imagine bringing one of those halves up to your mouth and taking a massive bite right out of the center. The sour juice just floods your tongue.
Oh, man.
What just happened in your mouth?
My mouth is literally watering. I can feel that sharp pinch in the back of my jaw right now.
Exactly. You can open your eyes. That right there is response expectancy. There is no lemon. We are sitting in a room.
Right.
But your brain vividly expected a physiological reaction salivation, and your body obediently produced it instantly.
That is wild when you actually experience it.
Hypnosis deeply leverages this exact mechanism. If you can get the brain, while it's in that deeply relaxed state, to expect an automatic reaction like, my arm feels incredibly heavy, or this sharp pain actually just feels like a distant warm pressure, your subjective experience of reality actually changes to match the expectation.
So it's not just positive thinking, it's evoking a real bodily response through a planted idea.
Yes. And we can see this in the brain. The source specifically mentions a region called the ACC, the anterior cingulate cortex.
The ACC, what does that do?
Well, physical pain actually has two distinct parts in the brain. There's the raw sensation, the nerve signal saying damage has occurred, and then there's the suffering, which is how much that sensation actually bothers you emotionally.
The emotional weight of the pain.
Right. The ACC processes that unpleasantness. It's the suffering center. Hypnosis has been shown on brain scans to actively dampen the activity in the ACC. The raw nerve signal might still be firing. The damage is still there. But your brain fundamentally decides that it just doesn't care as much. It uncouples the physical sensation from the emotional distress.
That is unbelievable. You are literally editing the signal processing of your own brain in real time.
Yeah.
You are top-down modulating your own reality.
Exactly. Top-down modulation. And this brings us to what I think is the most critical turn in this entire deep dive. This is the real secret sauce of manifestation according to the science.
All right, lay it on me.
Because usually people are told to do the exact opposite of what the science says. They are told, visualize the outcome, see yourself standing on the podium, feel the heavy weight of the gold trophy in your hands, smell the champagne spraying everywhere.
Right. Live as if you already have it. That is the golden rule of basically every pop manifestation book out there.
Take it till you make it.
Exactly.
And here's where the clinical science just drops the hammer. Our source data on positive fantasies suggests that this advice is not just mildly wrong, it might actually be actively dangerous to your goals.
Wait, seriously. Visualizing my success makes me less likely to actually succeed. That goes against literally everything I've ever read in the self-help genre.
I know, it's a shock. But yes, extensive research, particularly by Gabrielle Lottingen and her colleagues, shows a very strong replicable correlation. Idealized fantasies about a positive future reliably correlate with lower effort and lower success rates over time.
But that seems completely backwards. Why would feeling good about my goal make me fail at it?
Because the human brain is very easily tricked. When you sit there and vividly visualize the perfect outcome, the trophy, the applause, the massive bank account, your brain gets a hit of dopamine right then and there.
Oh?
It gets the chemical reward prematurely. Subjectively, on a neurological level, it feels like you've already reached the mountaintop.
And if my brain thinks I'm already at the top?
Why would it mobilize the immense physical and mental energy required to actually climb the mountain?
Wow. You are literally sedating your own ambition. You get the high of the accomplishment without doing the work, so you just sit there.
Exactly. You sit there. It measurably reduces your energization. They have even measured this using systolic blood pressure.
Blood pressure drops.
Yes. When people indulge in positive fantasies, their systolic blood pressure drops. They physically lose energy. You feel great in the moment. You feel successful, so you just relax. You might even go watch Netflix because you feel like you've already done something productive just by visualizing it.
This is blowing my mind. But wait, I need to clarify something. Is expecting to succeed bad?
No, great distinction. This is distinct from expectation. Expecting that you are capable of doing it, that self-efficacy is very good. Fantasizing that you have already done it is a sedative.
That explains so much.
Yeah.
It explains why vision boards so often just end up collecting dust in the corner of a room. I look at the board, I see the mansion and the car, I feel a rush of happiness, and then I just don't apply for the new job.
Exactly. It drains the fuel from your engine.
So what is the better way? Because we still need to visualize something, right? We can't just operate completely in the dark with no goals.
We absolutely need to visualize. But the source calls for a specific technique called process simulation.
Process simulation.
Instead of visualizing the trophy, you visualize the practice sessions. You visualize the late night studying at your desk.
Yeah.
You visualize the difficult, awkward conversations you have to have. Crucially, you visualize the obstacles.
You visualize the hard parts, the friction.
Yes.
That doesn't sound very manifesty at all. It sounds kind of stressful.
It's definitely not magical, but it is highly effective. You visualize the steps, and you visualize how you are going to overcome the hard parts. In the literature, this is called mental contrasting with implementation intentions, or MCII for short.
MCII. Okay, that sounds very technical. Can you break that down for us?
It is widely considered the absolute gold standard in behavioral change psychology right now. The formula is quite simple. Wish plus current reality or obstacle plus an if-then plan.
Wish, obstacle, plan.
Yes. You don't ignore the dream. You absolutely state the wish. But immediately, you force your brain to contrast it with your current reality. You ask, what is fundamentally stopping me right now?
Can you give me a concrete example of how this plays out? Let's say I want to get back in shape,
Oh,
because that's a classic goal for almost everybody.
perfect example. Let's run it both ways. The old pop manifestation way. You sit on the couch, you close your eyes, and you visualize yourself with six-pack abs running on a pristine beach in Maui. You feel the warm sun, you feel skinny and athletic.
Sounds lovely.
It is lovely, the result. You feel amazing for about 10 minutes, but then your blood pressure drops, you lose your energization, you get hungry, and since you already feel skinny in your head, you order a large pepperoni pizza.
I feel personally attacked right now
Yeah,
because I have lived that exact specific scenario more times than I can count.
most of us have. Now let's look at the MCII way.
Okay, the science way.
Step 1, the wish. You say, I want to work out 3 times this week. Notice it's an actionable wish, not just, I want abs. Step 2, the obstacle. You get brutally honest. You say, I know that when I finish work at 6 p.m., I am completely exhausted, my brain is fried, and I just want to sit down on the couch.
Very realistic.
Step 3, the plan. This is the implementation intention. You say, if I finish work and feel completely exhausted, then I will immediately put on my running shoes before my body even touches the couch.
Wow. That feels a lot less glamorous than the beach in Maui.
It's
It's not magical at all,
Yeah.
but I can instantly see why it works. It's deeply grounded in the actual day-to-day friction of my real life.
Exactly. It mobilizes your energy because it fully recognizes the resistance.
Yeah.
You aren't just dreaming, you are strategizing. You are essentially preloading a tough decision so that you don't have to rely on willpower when you're tired. You are effectively programming your future self.
Preloading the decision. I love
Yeah.
that. Now, this connects perfectly to something else I saw in the source material about affirmations.
Yes.
Because affirmations are huge. I am a millionaire is the classic one.
Okay.
Or I am beautiful. People write them on their mirrors in lipstick.
And according to the clinical data, it's yet another massive trap. The expert in the source explicitly warns about something called the backfire effect.
The backfire effect.
Yes. Think about it. If you have genuinely low self-esteem, if you truly deeply feel bad about yourself on a core level, and you stand in front of your bathroom mirror and force yourself to chant, I'm a massive success, your brain instantly detects a severe conflict.
Right, because it knows the truth.
Exactly. It checks your current reality, sees that your bank account is overdrawn, sees that it completely contradicts the statement, and your brain essentially shouts back, no, you're not. Who are you kidding?
It feels like a complete lie.
It feels like a lie, and the cognitive dissonance is painful. And empirical studies show that for people with low self-esteem, forcing these positive self-statements can actually make them feel significantly worse.
Because it just highlights the gap.
Precisely. It puts a massive spotlight on the painful gap between where they currently are and where they are trying to convince themselves they are. It aggressively reinforces their deep-seated insecurity.
That is tragic, honestly. People are trying to heal, and they're accidentally making it worse. So what on earth do we do instead? We can't just stand there and insult ourselves or, like, I'm a total loser.
No, definitely do not do that either. The source suggests a pivot. They call it affirmations note the O instead of the I, or more formally, interrogative self-talk.
Interrogative, meaning asking questions.
Yes. Instead of forcing a declarative statement like, I will succeed, you simply ask yourself a question, will I succeed? Or even better, how will I succeed?
How will I succeed? Oh, I feel the difference immediately. That completely shifts the brain out of the role of the judge and puts it into the role of the problem solver.
That is exactly what happens neurologically. It triggers a natural, intrinsic search for answers. Your brain hates open loops, so when you ask how, it starts working. It says, well, how will I? I could clear my schedule on Tuesday, I could ask my mentor for help, I could break this massive project down into smaller chunks.
You give the brain a puzzle to solve instead of a lie to swallow.
Perfectly said. Experiments robustly show that this interrogative self-talk triggers intrinsic motivation and goal-directed behavior far better than declarative statements. because you are actually engaging your own agency. You are treating yourself like a highly capable problem solver rather than just a dumb billboard for catchy slogans.
Okay, I want to take a breath and just briefly recap the software side of this, because this is honestly huge for anyone listening.
It is a complete paradigm shift.
We are definitely not doing I'm already rich fantasies, because those just sedate our drive and lower our blood pressure.
Correct.
And we are not doing I am a fearless tiger affirmations, because if we don't believe it, it backfires and makes us feel worse.
Exactly.
What we are doing is process simulation. We are asking, how do I get there? And we are building MCII plans. If this specific obstacle happens, then I will take this specific action.
You've got it. But remember, and this is the most critical structural point of the whole deep dive, we only do this software programming after we have achieved that deep state of relaxation. High HRV, low muscle tension. We have to lower the drawbridge first, so the brain is actually receptive to the new plan.
Order of operations is everything. State first, then content.
Always.
So let's get highly practical now.
Yeah.
Because the source actually provides 3 specific step-by-step protocols. And I want to walk through these thoroughly because this is the real how-to part of the deep dive.
Let's do it.
Let's start with Protocol 1. The source calls this the quick reset. This seems designed for the listener who has a crazy busy day and maybe only has, 10 or 15 minutes max during a lunch break or right before a big meeting?
Yes. This is your daily maintenance protocol. It beautifully combines the breathing, the PMR, and that if-then planning we just discussed.
Walk us through it.
Step 1 is the setup. You only need about 1 minute for this. You pick a single goal and you define it in one simple sentence. Like, I want to finish the Q3 financial report today. Do not overcomplicate it.
Keep it super focused.
Yes. Step 2 is the breath. You spend 4 to 5 minutes doing slow nasal breathing. Ideally, you are hitting that 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out rhythm. You are actively, physically down-regulating your sympathetic nervous system.
Just manually getting the nervous system back to a calm baseline.
Exactly. Then, seamlessly, step 3 is the PMR short form. You don't have time to do every single muscle in the body, so you just do 6 key groups. Your hands, your shoulders, your face, your belly, your glutes, and your legs.
Just tense and release.
Right. Squeeze the tension for about 4 seconds and then fully release for 8 seconds. Really feel the contrast. By now, you are maybe 7 or 8 minutes into the protocol, and you should feel a very distinct, profound shift in your mental state.
That absorption state we mentioned earlier.
Yes, you are deeply absorbed. You aren't worrying about what's for dinner tonight. Your attention is entirely in the present moment.
Okay, so now my hardware is relaxed and focused.
Now you load the software. Step 4 is process manifestation. You visualize the very first step of your goal, not the finished, polished report. You visualize yourself simply opening the Word document. You vividly visualize your fingers resting on the cold keyboard. You visualize typing that very first sentence.
Do you feel the physical sensation of starting?
Exactly. You prime the motor pathways. And finally, step 5. You mentally or physically write down your if-then plan for the immediate future. If I get distracted by a new email notification, then I will immediately close my browser for 20 straight minutes.
That is so totally doable. I mean, it's grounded, it's highly efficient, and it doesn't require an hour of chanting.
And it consistently works because it simultaneously addresses both the physiological stress block and the cognitive behavioral block.
Brilliant. Okay, let's look at Protocol 2. This one is titled Self-Hypnosis with Post-Hypnotic Cue.
Yes.
Now, this sounds a bit more advanced to me. This is for when we want to change something a bit deeper, right?
Right.
Like our core identity or a long-standing habit.
It is deeper, yes, but it's actually very learnable for anyone. This protocol heavily targets deep relaxation combined with changing your underlying self-concept.
How does it start?
It starts with an induction. You get comfortable, and you fixate your eyes on a single specific spot on the wall or ceiling.
Like staring at a dot.
Exactly. And as you stare, you begin suggesting sensations of heaviness and warmth to yourself. You say internally, my eyelids are getting incredibly heavy. My arms are warm and heavy. You gently loop these phrases.
Getting the body to follow this suggestion.
Right. Then you move into a deepening phase.
Is that like the classic counting backwards thing?
It is, counting down slowly from 10 to 1. Often, people imagine themselves slowly walking down a beautiful, curving staircase. The goal here is to get profoundly absorbed to the point where the outside world just sort of fades away into the background and your physical body feels very distant and safe.
And once you're at the bottom of the stairs,
Yeah.
in that deep state,
Then comes the suggestion phase. You focus intensely on 3 distinct things. First, your state. I am completely calm. Second, your self-image. I am the kind of person who always acts in small, steady steps. And third, the specific behavior. I take action today, even if it feels imperfect.
Okay, I like that. But what is this cue part? The title says post-hypnotic cue.
This is a classic, highly effective hypnosis technique. You actively link a simple physical action like touching your thumb and your forefinger together, or lightly making a fist with that profound feeling of clarity and the intention to act.
You link a physical movement to a mental state.
Yes. So while you are deeply relaxed at the bottom of those stairs, you tell yourself, later today, whenever I touch my thumb to my index finger, I will instantly reconnect with this deep calm and I will immediately start my task.
So later in the day, when I'm inevitably stressing out in the middle of a chaotic meeting or staring at a blank screen, I just touch my thumb and finger together.
Exactly. And it instantly triggers the neurological association you built. You are essentially creating a physical, tactile trigger for a complex mental state.
That is so cool.
It's basically like installing a custom shortcut button right on your brain's desktop. And the beautiful thing is, the more you practice installing it in the deep state, the faster and more powerfully it works in your normal waking state.
I am definitely trying that. Okay, protocol 3. This is the big one. It's called body scan plus sankalpa plus mental contrasting.
This is the deepest of the three.
Now, sankalpa, that is a yoga nidra term, isn't it?
It is. It comes directly from the ancient yogic tradition, but it is heavily utilized in modern clinical yoga nidra, or what some scientists now call NSDR, non-sleep deep rest.
And what does it mean?
Sankalpa roughly translates to a solemn, deeply held intention or resolve.
Got it.
Now, this protocol is significantly longer. You want to set aside maybe 20 to 30 minutes for this, and you absolutely do it lying down on your back.
Okay, lying down.
You start with a comprehensive body scan. And the key here is you are just noticing sensations. You are not trying to fix them or judge them or change them. You are just slowly drifting your awareness through every single part of the body for about 10 to 12 solid minutes.
Which creates that deep state.
Yes, it creates a highly receptive, almost dreamlike state of consciousness. It measurably lowers your brainwave frequency, pushing you out of busy beta waves and down towards alpha and theta waves.
And that's when you bring in the intention, the sankalpa.
Yes. Once you are in that theta borderline state, you internally state your sankalpa. It must be a short, highly specific sentence framed in the present tense.
For example?
Like, I work 10 focused minutes daily on my novel. You repeat it internally 3 times with absolute conviction.
And then?
Then you move immediately into the mental contrasting we talked about, the MCII. While deeply relaxed, you briefly visualize a successful wish, then you brutally visualize the main obstacle, and then you clearly formulate the if-then solution.
Wow. It seems like the common thread weaving through all 3 of these protocols is that we are never, ever just wishing. We are always proactively planning for the resistance.
That is the ultimate key takeaway of the clinical science. Real life has friction. Real life has resistance. Any manifestation technique that completely ignores that resistance is just setting you up for inevitable failure. You have to purposefully include the friction in your blueprint.
I think that completely reframes the entire concept of manifestation for me. It's so practical. But we need to shift gears for a second and address the elephant in the room, or maybe the shadow in the room.
The safety profile.
Yes. Is this safe for absolutely everyone to just dive into? Because playing around with your subconscious mind, inducing deep brainwave states, looking deeply inward, can that go wrong?
It's not all sunshine and rainbows, and ethical science communication requires us to be very clear on this.
Right.
Generally speaking, deep relaxation and meditation are quite safe for the vast majority of people, but the source material explicitly dedicates a section to adverse effects.
What kind of effect?
For a subset of people, these deep inward practices can paradoxically trigger severe anxiety, psychological dissociation, or in some rarer clinical cases, depressive episodes.
Really? Just from trying to relax. I imagine this is especially true if there is a significant trauma history, right?
Exactly. This is a massive flashing warning label that we absolutely need to discuss. For individuals dealing with PTSD or severe trauma, inner-focused exercises like that 12-minute body scan where you pay intense microscopic attention to internal physical sensations can be highly triggering.
Because their body is in a neutral place.
Right. If you have a severe history of trauma, the physical body isn't always a safe place to inhabit. Focusing closely on your heartbeat or the exact rhythm of your breath might subconsciously remind your nervous system of a past panic attack or a traumatic event.
And that just causes a feedback loop of panic.
A massive feedback loop. It does the exact opposite of state regulation.
So what should those listeners do? Should they just avoid manifestation and relaxation protocols entirely?
Not necessarily, but they must adapt the approach. The source heavily suggests prioritizing exteroception over interoception.
Meaning focusing outside instead of inside.
Yes. Keep your eyes open. Do not close them. Focus intensely on the physical room around you. This is clinically called grounding.
Grounding.
Rather than looking inside at your breath, focus on the solid feeling of your feet pressing into the floor. Or play a game where you count all the blue objects in the room. You focus entirely on external cues of safety to regulate the nervous system. And obviously, work alongside a licensed professional. Do not force yourself into an internal state that feels fundamentally unsafe.
That is extremely important advice. Thank you for clarifying that. Now, there's also a section in the source about false memories, and I have to admit, this part scared me a bit.
It is definitely something to be aware of.
How does that happen?
Well, highly suggestive techniques, especially deep trance hypnosis or past life regression models, can inadvertently implant false memories.
To implant them.
Yes. The human brain is, at its core, a relentless storytelling machine. It craves narrative cohesion. So if you go into a deep trance deliberately digging for some hidden repressed trauma to explain why you aren't a millionaire yet,
Your brain will just invent one.
your brain might just invent a totally fictional story simply to satisfy your search and close the narrative loop.
That is terrifying. To think you could manifest a trauma that never even happened.
It is, which is why the source is adamant. The goal of these clinical protocols is strictly coping with the present moment and planning for the future. It is not an archaeological dig into your childhood.
Leave the archaeology to actual therapy.
Exactly. Do not use manifestation protocols to aggressively psychoanalyze or diagnose yourself.
Okay, there is one more ethical point the source raises, and it's about victim blaming. I see this constantly in the online manifestation community. People say things like, oh, you got laid off, or you got sick. Well, you must have manifested that with your low vibrational negative thoughts.
And that right there is one of the most intellectually bankrupt and toxic byproducts of the magical thinking model.
It is so cruel.
It is cruel, and our clinical source rejects this premise entirely. The scientific model argues for a concept called responsibility without guilt.
Responsibility without guilt. Explain that.
Well, the reality is that life outcomes are an incredibly complex mix of your physical environment, your genetics, your systemic privilege, your socioeconomic status, and your support system.
Right. It's never just one thing.
Exactly. These self-regulation tools we are discussing today are simply powerful aids to help you navigate that insane complexity. They are not moral judgments on your character.
So something bad happens. It's not a failure of my imagination.
Absolutely not. You didn't manifest a global pandemic. You didn't manifest an autoimmune disease. You didn't manifest a car accident because you had a brief negative thought on Tuesday.
I cannot tell you how much of a relief it is to hear you say that out loud. It's so deeply important to separate personal agency from complete omnipotence. Like, you have agency over how you react to things, but you aren't a god controlling the universe.
Precisely. You can definitely learn to adjust the sails, and you should, but you do not control the wind. And claiming you control the wind is just a recipe for deep shame and neuroticism.
Okay, so we have the concrete methods, and we have the necessary safety warnings. The final piece of the puzzle. How do we actually know if any of this is working for us?
Measurement.
Because the source suggests treating your own life like a literal laboratory.
Yes, conducting what they call an N of 1 experiment.
N of 1, meaning N is the sample size, and the sample size is just you.
Exactly. You are the only test subject that matters. Don't just blindly believe this works because 2 people said so on a deep dive. Actually test it and measure the data.
We love data here, so what does this 4-week testing plan look like?
The source outlines a very clean, simple experimental design. Week 1 is purely your baseline.
So I don't change anything in week 1.
You change nothing. You just observe and measure. How stressed are you on a scale of 1 to 10? How well are you actually sleeping? How many times did you authentically work on your goal? You just write it all down to get a baseline.
Okay, got it.
Then, week 2, you test protocol 1, the quick reset with the breathing and the PMR. You commit to doing it every single day, and you keep measuring those exact same metrics.
And week 3?
Week 3, you pivot and test protocol 2, the self-hypnosis with the physical cue.
And then week 4 is the grand finale.
Exactly. Week 4, you look at your data, you see what actually moved the needle for your specific nervous system, and you combine what worked best into a custom routine.
That is so methodical. But what exactly are we measuring? Because you said don't just measure vibes.
Right. Do not measure vibes. We want hard, trackable metrics. Now, subjective metrics are okay as a starting point. The WHO-5 Well-Being Index is a great standard clinical questionnaire you can find online for free.
The WHO-5.
Yes. And the PSQI, the Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index, is great for tracking your sleep improvements.
But you prefer objective metrics, don't you?
I heavily prefer objective behavioral metrics.
Give me some examples. What should I write down?
Minutes spent directly on the goal. This is honestly my absolute favorite metric. Don't write in your journal that you feel more productive today. Show me the math. Tell me exactly how many minutes you actually spent writing the report.
Ouch. That is brutally honest.
It is. Another great one is start events. Simply tally up how many times you actually sat down to begin the task, regardless of how long you lasted. Just track the initiation.
And what about the if-then plans? Can we measure those?
Yes. You track your if-then success rate. If you made a concrete plan to ignore your phone when it buzzed, how often did you actually successfully ignore it out of 10 tries?
That is a harsh mirror to look into.
It can be, but that precise feedback loop is exactly how you get real results. And of course, if you have a wearable device like an Apple Watch, a Whoop strap, or an Oura Ring, you can passively track your physiological data, like your HRV trends.
Oh, right, because we talked about HRV earlier.
Yes, but a major caution here for the data nerds listening. Look strictly for macro trends over several weeks. Do not obsess over the daily numbers.
Why not?
Because daily HRV fluctuates wildly based on hydration, what you ate, how hard you worked out, or if you had a glass of wine. If you obsess over the daily number, you will just induce more state anxiety. You are looking for a gradually rising baseline over a month, not daily perfection.
That makes total sense. Look at the forest, not the trees.
Exactly.
Well, I have to say, this entire deep dive has been, frankly, a massive relief.
I'm so glad to hear that.
It really is. It's so incredibly nice to hear the word manifestation discussed at length, without any toxic positivity, without blaming people for their illnesses, and without any quantum mysticism layered on top.
At the end of the day, when you strip it all back, it really is just applied biological psychology. It's essentially cognitive behavioral therapy meeting autogenic training.
So, to fully summarize this for everyone listening before we wrap up, manifestation isn't magic. It is the highly specific combination of manually calming your nervous system down, which is the state regulation, and then systematically programming your brain with realistic, obstacle-aware plans, which is the content.
Perfectly summarized. And if you remember only one single phrase from this entire hour, let it be this: process over outcome.
Process over outcome.
Do not sit around dreaming of crossing the finish line. Mentally simulate running the actual race. Simulate the sweat, simulate the muscle cramps, simulate the urge to quit, and visualize exactly how you're going to keep running anyway.
I absolutely love that. But before we officially go, do you have a final thought for us? Something provocative for the listener to chew on over the next few days?
I definitely do, and it stems from a brief note in the source material about embodiment.
Embodiment, like power posing.
Exactly. Things like standing like Superman with your hands on your hips to suddenly feel brave and powerful.
Right, the whole fake it till you make it with your body.
Well, the clinical evidence for that is actually surprisingly weak. We try so incredibly hard to force confidence from the outside in. We try to posture our way to success.
But it doesn't really work.
Not reliably. But the evidence for deep internal expectations shaping your biological reality is absolutely massive, as we've seen today.
So what's the takeaway?
So here is the thought to chew on. If our internal automatic expectations genuinely shape our reality and our neurobiology so powerfully, what automatic expectations are you currently holding right now that you haven't ever audited?
Oh, wow.
Are you actually visualizing your daily obstacles and making a concrete plan, or are you just blindly hoping they magically disappear?
Oof. What automatic expectations haven't you audited? That is definitely going to stick with me.
It's a tough question, but a necessary one.
Well, I know what I'm doing tonight. I'm going to explicitly try the if-then plan. I'm going to say, if I feel the irresistible urge to check my phone during family dinner, then I will immediately stop, drop my shoulders, and take 3 very slow breaths instead.
That sounds like a highly robust, scientifically sound plan.
Thank you so much for breaking all this down with me.
It was a pleasure.
And thank you all for joining us on this deep dive. We will see you next time.